In my life, I've learned many hard lessons about seizing opportunities and avoiding costly mistakes. There was a time in the 1970s when I made one very foolish decision that cost me dearly. If I hadn't made that mistake, my assets could have been twice as large today. That error taught me that life gives you only one or two chances for big decisions, and sometimes the difference between success and failure can come down to one lucky or careful choice. I know many people who ended up with partners far better than themselves. Decisions made early in life that changed everything. Some stumble into great opportunities by chance, but you don't have to be unlucky. You can learn to be careful and recognize danger before you charge in. People often ignore warning signs even when they are obvious and end up making terrible mistakes. I like to tell stories because they help illustrate these lessons. One such story, even if it is only a legend, goes like this. A young man visited Mozart and told him he wanted to write symphonies. Mozart asked, "How old are you?" The young man replied, "I'm 23. Mozart then said, "You are too young to write symphonies." But the young man pointed out that Mozart himself had written symphonies when he was only 10. Mozart agreed, but explained that he was not teaching others how to do it. Another story about Mozart tells of the greatest musical talent who, despite his genius, led a life full of misery and died young. He made two fatal mistakes. He spent more than he earned and was consumed by jealousy and resentment. These errors brought him unhappiness and an early death. The lesson is clear. If you overspend and harbor negative feelings, you risk having a poor and short life. Learn from Mozart's example and understand that not everyone can learn everything. There will always be someone who achieves more no matter how hard you try. In the end, no one needs to be the best in the world. It is enough to do well enough to live a good life. It is not necessary for every decision to be perfect. Throughout history, there have been only a few truly important decisions made each year. Those rare moments when you recognize a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Many people in high-pressure industries, like those who sell securities, pretend to have endless opportunities, much like racetrack touts. They often boast of chances they never actually deliver. My advice is to avoid these people if you can. Of course, if you are running a brokerage, you might need them. But for an individual investor, relying on such promises is unwise. I have always believed in keeping costs low and living simply. When I was starting out with only a small amount of money, my partner Warren and I practiced underspending and investing carefully. If you live long enough and learn from your mistakes, you can eventually become rich. Life is about finding a way to recover from your errors without letting them cost you too much. Take Berkshire Hathaway, for example. Its early days included investments in failing department stores, textile companies, and trading stamp businesses. We bought these businesses cheaply, knowing that success would come from changing our approach and moving into better opportunities. We became skilled at avoiding the hard things and focusing on the simpler, more reliable options. Index funds have become very popular, capturing nearly 3/4 of the market. Yet, if everyone only bought index funds, the market would not work as expected. The reason many people choose large indexes like the S&P is that if a small index becomes popular, its value can skyrocket and then collapse suddenly. When JP Morgan once convinced everyone to buy just 50 stocks, that buying frenzy eventually pushed their prices to unsustainable levels before everything fell apart quickly. This shows that concentrating too much on one area can be very dangerous. In a market dominated by a few narrow sectors, even intelligent investors can suffer catastrophic losses. I do not believe life should be easy. Hard work and making tough decisions are part of the process. In today's world, many people rely on computer algorithms to trade stocks, and their returns are steadily being pushed down. It looks like if you try to beat the market using these automated systems, you may end up with very little profit. Companies like Procter & Gamble, with their heavy bureaucracy, seem impossible to change even if you believe they could be managed more like Berkshire Hathaway. The momentum of such large companies is often too strong to overcome. It is interesting to note that one of the reasons Berkshire Hathaway has been so successful is that it has almost no corporate bureaucracy. We keep our operations simple with only a few internal auditors checking things here and there. This lack of bureaucracy is a huge advantage because it allows us to change quickly and avoid the standard wastes and evils that come with big organizations. Of course, many successful governments and businesses tend to build more and more bureaucracy, which is counterproductive. Bureaucracy often benefits the bureaucrats themselves through more meetings and red tape. Even if it looks impressive on paper, modern life seems to create successful bureaucracy, and that in turn leads to failure and waste. It is as natural as aging and death. I often think of great nation builders like Lee Kuan Yew, who transformed a malarial swamp into modern Singapore. Despite facing hatred from those who did not want outsiders, he built a strong country from nothing. Singapore's success is unparalleled in world history. China deserves credit for building a modern nation with pragmatic ideas. Its leaders believed that even the poor could become rich by learning from successful models and applying those lessons locally. I display busts of influential figures like Benjamin Franklin as symbols of the guiding ideas that have shaped my thinking. Compared to India, which struggles with outdated caste systems, overpopulation, and excessive bureaucracy, I'd rather work with capable Chinese leaders. Although Indian people are talented, their system is marred by poverty and corruption that stifles progress. China's rapid growth and technological advances are clear evidence of its effective, practical approach. Their methods have helped improve living standards and create a strong global presence. These successes continue to inspire leaders around the world to pursue similar, sustainable reforms. I have never hoarded cash waiting for a perfect moment. Instead, I invest in the best opportunities as they arise. While some companies sit on excess cash hoping for the ideal time, I believe prices are often driven up by eager buyers and fee-driven private equity. I also think that nothing is worth an infinite price. Solid companies like Costco can eventually become too expensive. For long-term investing, I would consider buying a strong enterprise like Costco at its current price, as it represents a reliable and valuable investment. Many investors believe that hiring experts will let them beat the market, but in truth, about 95% of them have little chance. Sensible professionals know that promising more than you can deliver only leads to disappointment. Often people hope the situation will improve next year, even though deep down they know better. I was once told by a professor, "Tell me your problem and I'll try to make it more difficult for you." That lesson helped me understand that worrying about inflation and our future is natural. Success in investing comes from a few rare, meaningful decisions rather than daily choices. For example, at Berkshire Hathaway, we make just a couple of big decisions each year that shape our success over decades. While large portfolios might seem necessary, a simple approach often works best. Computer algorithms and common strategies can push returns down, so nothing should be taken for granted. Always question conventional wisdom. Bureaucracy is a major problem that slows down progress. I've seen large organizations bogged down by endless meetings and wasted resources. In contrast, lean organizations like Berkshire Hathaway avoid excessive bureaucracy and change quickly. I believe simple, effective management is far better than complex systems that hinder progress. History teaches us that great nations like Singapore succeed by cutting waste and focusing on efficiency. In contrast, countries burdened with heavy bureaucracy and corruption struggle to progress. The best systems allow for quick decisions and minimal waste, principles that work in both business and government. Learn from history and use those lessons in your own life. Not every decision will be perfect, so seize rare opportunities when they appear. Use your own judgment, work with trusted professionals, and always keep learning, because our society faces challenges that demand better ideas. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe for more simple guides on our changing world. Your support helps share these lessons and sparks thoughtful conversations about the future.